Right, I'm going to have a chat now about construction. Now, I personally think that Airush don't get the credit that they deserve for the quality and build of their kites. They are fastidious in a laboratory sense with the testing that they do on the fabrics available in the industry. They innovate, they test, they're always looking for a performance advantage in terms of durability and reducing weight, which is critical to the way that these things perform. Whenever Airush get a test, and I know this for a fact, they go back to the testers and they say, why didn't we get top marks for construction? Tell us why. And the answers we get back from the magazines are always not really answers. They just cite, oh well, we think this looks a bit stronger, or that maybe has a little bit more reinforcement there, but the technology behind this is so much more than that. Okay, right, this is the load frame. Now this web of Dyneema lines spans the entire kite. You see it here. It's central to everything Airush make at the moment. And I don't know, many of you are able to test the same kite that's 6 months old, that is also next to you, that's brand new out of the bag. From experience over the last 20 years, the difference is enormous. Now, kites stretch, they all stretch. It's not the same kite that you had 6 months after you took it out of the bag. It's a different kite. This cloth, it stretches. Doesn't matter how many stripes you put in it, or where it's made or how it's made, it all stretches. And one way to get around that is to take it out of the loading environment. And what Airush do, they've taken these strands of Dyneema and they've interlaced them across the entire kite, and that basically is the structural frame of the kite. And if you notice, it's not geometrically perfect. It's designed to still move and twist around the way the kite turns, and that's a key thing. If you were to make the kite completely stiff and completely non-deformable, it really has a negative effect on the handling. Airush actually give you a little piece of canopy with your kite, and it explains what the load frame is. Now, on that piece of canopy cloth, you've got a piece of the load frame stitched into it. Now they're inviting you to stretch it both ways, with the load frame reinforcement and without. And with the load frame reinforcement, you're talking about a 3% canopy stretch at 40 kilos of load. Without the load frame in place, so stretching it the other way where the double arrows you see there, you're talking about a 38% stretch at 40 kilos. And that's the difference physically that the load frame makes. Now, the other important aspect about not having your kite stretch and it being the same kite in 6 months' time as it was the day you took it out of the bag is the fact that when you smack it into the deck, you can't rip it in half. Now, it's a bold claim that, but in all of the years that I've been dealing with this load frame, every time somebody's split a kite on impact, I want to know where, how. And whenever I get the pictures through, it's always between the load frame. The amount of impactive force these things can sustain without ripping is really very impressive. So why don't other companies use the load frame like Airush? It's a good question, and to be honest, you'd have to ask them to get the truthful answer, but I suspect it's one of production cost. I know how much these things cost to make in the factory, and it's not pretty. Airush, to their credit, are a much more excellence-driven company than they are a profit-driven company, and this is not a good way to make money. Airush kites are certainly the most expensive kites out of the factory. They are one of the most expensive kites you can buy at retail, but it's good value. You're getting a kite that's going to last. You're getting a kite that some importers have actually said to me actually lasts a little bit too long. People are buying a kite and the things are lasting for 10 years, and that's not a good commercial proposition. They are struggling to find reason to upgrade. So yeah, you really are getting a very impressive and highly engineered bit of kit. And for something like the lift that's dealing with enormous loadings at times, you really are relying on that load frame to keep everything together. It's going to bring longevity to the kite, it's going to bring performance to the kite that endures. Now, as many of you will be aware, there is a new material in the industry at the moment that's been making quite a bit of noise about 12 months ago. We don't really hear much about it now. It's a plastic derivative that offers extreme strength and a weight saving to go with it. And I know for a fact that Airush have been testing this, and we're still using the materials that we do. Believe me, to get rid of the load frame and to use a one-piece construction, it would be significantly cheaper, but we're still doing what we're doing, and there are reasons for that. I don't really want to go into them, but believe me, if there were a stronger physical way and a performance advantage to be had, we would be doing it, but we're not. This is, according to all of our R&D and research, the best way to build a kite that we know at this current point in time. Kite bag. Really nice kite bag, really well made, nice and roomy, but would it surprise you to know that the entire bag is made from recycled plastic bottles? And not only that, as the badge on the front will attest, the kite is responsible through the Hadrill Climate Park for trapping up to 1 ton of CO2 through their mangrove planting program, which I think is pretty cool.